I'm Kevin Vondemkamp. I'm with Appen Corporation. If you've never heard of Appen, we are based out of Sydney, Australia, but we have U.S. offices in Seattle and satellite offices in New York, London, where else? Just Detroit. We cover California, a lot of different areas. But I just wanted to lay down a couple items about the presentation today. We only have a 20-minute segment, so it's really hard to get granular on details. And we also want to leave time for Q&A. So we have a presentation here. It lasts about 10 minutes, and then I want to open it up for any discussion or any questions anybody may have. But just to get started, if you haven't heard of Appen before, and a lot of people haven't, we're actually a publicly traded $200 million company on the Australian exchange. But with Appen, we are this unique company that's been working with machine learning and AI projects since 2007. And back then, these projects were top secret. You know, we were working with the Bings, Google, Yahoos of the world. And now machine learning is not so top secret anymore. You know, all the people we used to work with on the top secret projects have now moved on to, you know, e-commerce companies. And from e-commerce companies, they've taken their machine learning knowledge and are now taking it to finance, transportation, healthcare, a lot of different industries out there today. But we've been attending countless machine learning and AI trade shows the last few years. And the one thing that we see firsthand is there is a dramatic and exponential increase in interest in machine learning and AI. And this year in particular has really been satisfying for us because 2 years ago we used to go to trade shows, we'd talk to people, what are you doing for machine learning and AI? You know, what are you doing for high quality data? They had no strategy. And all these companies that had no strategy are coming to our booth today and they're saying, we now have proof of concepts. We're experimenting internally. So we're starting to see this hockey stick of interest in applying machine learning and AI to your internal initiatives. It's probably safe to assume that everybody in this room has a vested interest in search, or you probably wouldn't be at this event. And it's either e-commerce site search or some type of enterprise search. And I have a couple statistics up here, and I won't go I'm sure you can read them yourself, but essentially what they say is there is a correlation between search, purchase conversion, and user satisfaction. Now, we deal with companies that have 1 million SKUs, and they're changing every day. And when we talk to these new companies, one of the challenges we hear from them, the questions they ask is, how do we keep up? How do we keep our search accurate with all these growing inventories, changes in trends, new products, all the different seasons? Well, they keep up because they apply machine learning. And they're getting away from writing a gazillion rules to cover everything, because that doesn't apply if you have a ton of SKUs. And there's a lot of focus on click-through. That doesn't tell you everything. So machine learning is an area where you really want to hone in on what the buyer wants as fast as you possibly can, what they want and what they need. Now, we know machine learning is growing of interest because there's some statistics out there that show it's one of the top 3 planned investments of most companies today. And again, 2 years ago, there was no investment. Everybody started pulling together their numbers. Today, we see it being put into action. Now, we have worked with some of the top global internet retailers. And when they apply machine learning, it isn't just one initiative, it's multiple initiatives. Like when we work with a company, we might work with 50 different project teams, all different machine learning projects. And we see them revolving around product recommendations, personalization, one of the more popular ones, categorization, and the most important, product search. Now, with these companies, they all suffer from the same pain point, and that is 80% of all data is unstructured. And it's only getting worse because it's growing 60% annually. So this is my favorite slide in the deck, and I get a lot of questions when I present this, is why is structured data so important? Well, machine learning and AI platforms require guidance from humans. And just like a child learning math requires guidance from their teacher. So do these platforms. A lot of these platforms, we've seen companies try to deal with just raw data, and you get into a scenario where it's garbage in, garbage out. And that's usually when we get a call, because they've tried to experiment on some public crowd systems. They've tried to experiment on just feeding a few data points in, and the results are the same. It's garbage in, garbage out. So if you want, and this is the number one lesson of the day, if you want to improve your machine learning initiative, you have to have high quality data. Last year we presented with Grant Ingersoll. I'm sure everybody in this room knows him because he's the CTO of Lucid. And he had a great quote here which just further drives this point home. Humans are essential for establishing a baseline for search queries. Technology just hasn't caught up, which is why human annotation is critical to ensure that search algorithms get trained properly and assess intent. Now, that's a statement that we've seen companies struggle with for the last 5 years, because I said we've been going to these shows for a long time, and the first AI summit we went to in San Francisco, people back then were saying, why do we need structured data? And it was very frustrating for us because that was our business. We were trying to market a service. We go to those shows today, and the same people come to our booth saying, we need this type of structured data, or we're doing this project. I mean, the world has changed dramatically. And ironically, we were at the AI Summit in London about 5 months ago, and they were 2 years behind what we were seeing in the US. So it's interesting seeing how this whole industry is evolving. But at the end of the day, humans are just better at managing subjectivity, understanding intent, and coping with ambiguity. Now, one of the other questions we're always asked is, where does the human interact with machine learning? And it starts at the search box. This is the point where they want to get to a product and make a purchase as fast as they can. But the law of the internet is clicks kill. Too many clicks, you kill a required process. So that's why it's essential that you have high quality data so that you can get your consumer to the product faster and with more accuracy. Now, with our company, we work with some of the biggest machine learning initiatives in the world. We have clients where we have over 50 machine learning projects going on. We don't sell to a company, we actually market to a project team, or we partner with a project team. And so what I want to go over is about 3 or 4 different use cases on the e-commerce side. There are very specific type of projects that we do that enhance site search for e-commerce. The first one is search relevance ranking. This is the most common. This has been around the longest. This is taking a search and result pair and analyzing them. And this type of project's usually done on a 5-point scale. So a person looks at the search, they look at the result, and they rank it 5 being perfect result and a 1 being not good at all. The trick to this is it can't just be done anywhere. If you're selling globally, there could be a nuance within your market. So you actually have to have people living in that market doing this type of analysis. So as a company, we actually have, at any given time, over 50,000 people doing search analysis rankings in 100 different countries and 150 different languages. So it kind of tells you there's a whole evolution going on there. And the way I could drive this home more is, it doesn't apply to e-commerce, but if you're on the internet and you type in, give me the cricket score or the soccer scores, and you're in Brazil, you expect to see, or World Cup scores, you expect to see soccer scores. And if you're in India and you say, give me the World Cup scores, you expect to see cricket scores. So all these algorithms are different for every country, and there's a cultural nuance to all of that. Another one is defect testing. This is where we look at a search and the results and we find the defect. This is important because it helps engineering teams prioritize what they're working on. In this case here, he said red Nike shoes. But you see at the bottom, there's blue shoes, there's red Adidas shoes, and there's Nike socks. So we actually tag this data as being incorrect so that the engineers can look at it and determine where are we having the most problems in our search results. And then they can prioritize, which problems they want to work on first. Another test or project we work on, and probably the most common for e-commerce, is categorization and tagging. This is assisting the search effort because there's so many aspects of a product, like, is it a blue blouse? Does the blouse have ruffles? Is it long sleeve? Is it silk or cotton? Is it for spring or winter? All these items can be tagged. And essentially what we do as a company is we add metadata to each of these items just to make the search process more accurate. And then the last item here is side-by-side analysis. And there's actually two values for this. In the case on the screen here, if there's anybody from Macy's or Nordstrom's here, it's just an example. But if you want to look at your search results and see how your feed looks compared to your competition, we can actually do that. We can say even when the pictures look better. One of the more common uses for side-by-side analysis is that when the engineers are updating the algorithms and they want to release, they want to put out a new release for the system, they might want to do a side-by-side analysis of do a search now and do a search on the old algorithms. Which one's coming up better? So there's actually two values there you can do it. It's either for competition or pre-release analysis. Now, how do you get started? We have talked to so many companies in the last 5 years, and the most common term we heard 2 years ago was, we're trying to figure out our strategy. And that got kind of old hearing it because it's like, are you going to stay on a rules-based strategy or are you going to really apply a machine learning strategy? And the first question we always said to them was, the next item was, do you have enough SKUs to even support a machine learning strategy? I mean, when you look at Amazon, they got 1 million SKUs changing every day. They need that machine learning strategy. That's why they're one of the leaders in the field. But if you're a company that has 500 or 1,000 SKUs, you can probably write enough rules to cover you. Item 3 is the one that companies struggle with the most. Do I have a team available to manage and analyze the data? The number one pain point we hear from companies that are trying to apply machine learning strategy is they're having a hard time finding machine learning talent. Not just talent of understanding machine learning, but even within that vertical. Some of our key contacts over time have moved from Microsoft to Yahoo to eBay to Twitter to healthcare. They possess a knowledge that a lot of people don't have, and companies like in healthcare are willing to hire somebody with e-commerce machine learning knowledge just because they can't find anybody else. It also is a budget item. Most companies don't realize that apply machine learning, it's quite an investment. And then the last one, this is the one that Grant and I talked about a lot last year in Reinforces. Do you even have a team to action upon it? If we find defects, do you have a team that's going to go out there and correct that? So these are the questions you got to ask yourself. But if you do move forward with a machine learning strategy, our company Appen can assist you with that. We actually provide the human annotation services to structure data. And that's what we do at the end of the day. We just structure data to enhance machine learning platforms. If you need judgments, we can do it. If you need categorization, we can do it. If you need labels for training sets, you can do it. If you need audio for transcripts, we can do that. If you want somebody to analyze sentiment analysis on chatbots, we do that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what we do as Appen is we provide high-quality data for machine learning and artificial intelligence. So I just want to end it on that note. We have about 7 minutes left, so I just wanted to open the floor, find out if anybody has any questions, if they want to share anything on this topic with the group here, but I'll open it up right now. No questions?
So you literally have thousands of people actually looking at results and clicking and saying, yay, nay, yay, nay.
We have over 50,000 active at any given time, and we have a repository of over 1 million people who we can pull from. So the difference with our human annotation is there are products like Mechanical Turk out there. You put a request out there, anybody can work on it. It could be a bot working on it. You don't know. With our managed service, people have to actually go through a qualification and testing process before they can even work on it. One of our e-commerce projects is name entity tagging. And not anybody, first request we get is, hey, can you do that in the Philippines real cheap? Yeah, we can, but if it's U.S. sportswear, do they know about it? If it's lawn and garden, do they know about it? So for every vertical within e-commerce, when we do a name any tagging, we have to find a whole new set of people who are experts in that area who can accurately tag the data. So it isn't something you can throw out to anybody. They have to go through qualification and training, and then we actually go through a massive amount of auditing just to make sure the data is correct before it goes back. But that's a good question. Yes, sir. Yeah.
For the name entity stuff, did you guys ever explore the Stanford NLP project?
Not that I'm aware of. But can you expand on what those are?
It's a, I don't think it's open source. It's a Stanford project that they're doing in the university where it's a release. You can actually use it. I don't think you're allowed to use it commercially, but it breaks down text into sentence structures and it can identify what is most likely going to be an organization, which is most likely going to be a name, which is most likely going to be a location.
Yeah.
It can actually parse out that data from any block of text based on, well, only English
Yeah.
now, but English sentence structures, you know, like when we went to grade school, whatever.
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
tell you where verbs go, where nouns go, and
Yeah.
it does a really good job. Like I've experimented with it quite a bit, and it's mostly accurate.
Yeah. Our tagging is more of, like, for example, like with eBay, we'll work on a very specific product line.
Yeah.
And we will have to go through all the products, and they'll have maybe a taxonomy of 50 different items that we have to apply to it or not. And so it's just a little bit of a different one, but we do that work, similar type name entity when we do, like for recruiting companies, they'll have us set the base of analyzing in this resume, is that a place, is that a company, is that a skill? So we do different variations of the same task.
And if you, one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Charged by like the number of documents that you have to analyze, or like by the end result? I mean,
Yeah, so the mechanism for doing this is quite simple. Every project has a rate per hour, meaning usually they're a consistent task. And you can determine over time, can we do 50 of these tasks per hour? Can we do 100 per hour? So you know what your speed is. And then depending on the market, which we do this work, because we get a lot of requests for Portuguese work out of Brazil, German work, depending on what the hourly rate is in that market, at that point, it's just algebra of dividing the rate per hour by the hourly rate, and we can get a per task fee at that point. And then we actually, at the end of the month, we calculate how many tasks we do, and it's just invoiced accordingly. Yes, sir.
How do you validate the effectiveness of the annotation work?
So at the end of the day, we're providing the structured data. The secret sauce on how well it's doing lies on the other side of the curtain with the data scientists. Our job is to make sure the data is accurate. So once we provide them that structured data, we actually stop at that point. So then it goes to the engineering teams and the data scientists to determine is the accuracy working. But it's a constant evolution because as they're updating their algorithms, we're reanalyzing and doing the search relevance over and over and over again. So it's never stopping, but there's a lot of good examples of improving quality. The best one out there was years ago, no matter what you typed in the search box, Wikipedia was one of the top 3 links. So if you were searching on Machu Picchu, there's some type of encyclopedia intent there. You want to know the history of Machu Picchu. So Wikipedia is probably a decent result. If you typed in the word hiking boots, if Wikipedia came up, nobody wants to know the history of hiking boots. There's probably some type of commercial intent there. So we actually had to work with one major web company on just doing a whole series over 2 weeks of analysis of every time Wikipedia came up, re-evaluating whether that was a good result. And they took all that data, and in 2 weeks they were able to correct their algorithm so that Wikipedia was not feeding up every 3 links. And if you go online now, whenever you do a search with any of the major search companies, you'll see it doesn't come up all the time. Right? Well, thank you all very much. I just got the sign that we're at the 20-minute mark. I knew this would go fast. But what I would like to say in closing is, if you have a project or you have a company, or you're with an e-commerce company, and you want to discuss your needs in a little more detail, please come to our booth or give us a call after the show. We're more than happy to share with you some of the projects we're doing with companies to see if they apply to your business. Thank you all very much.